Why do we say one nation under God in the Pledge of Allegiance? The answer might surprise you. The original Pledge of Allegiance was written in 1892 and it had no mention of God. Its author, Francis Bellamy. In anticipation of the 400-year celebration of Christopher Columbus's arrival to the New World, Bellamy was tasked by his employer to design patriotic programs for school children. The original pledge read as follows: I pledge allegiance to my flag and the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The phraseology "one nation under God" was added in 1954. Congress approved the change, but the charge was led by President Dwight Eisenhower. He was heavily influenced by Reverend George Daugherty, a pastor who advocated to include under God in the pledge because he felt it was a fundamental reflection of American life. This decision was also made because of the anti-communist sentiment sweeping the nation. During the 1950s, the Cold War was raging, and any opportunity to distinguish good, God-fearing Americans from bad, atheist, communists, and then Soviet Union was taken. All this being said, folks are no longer required to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. We have the 1943 West Virginia State Board of Education v. Barnett decision to thank for that. The Supreme Court ruled that requiring students to say the pledge was a violation of their freedom.
What if I told you that the history of the Pledge of Allegiance is racist, xenophobic, and steeped in white nationalism? The Pledge of Allegiance started as a project headed by Francis Bellamy, a Boston minister, in 1891. A magazine had asked him to write something for the school system that would commemorate the 400-year anniversary of Christopher Columbus landing in America. They wanted to do so by raising the U.S. flag over every public school from the Atlantic to the Pacific. This was the original rendition of the Pledge of Allegiance. Under God wasn't added until 1954. Now, at first glance, the language used in the Pledge of Allegiance isn't racist or xenophobic, but if you dig deeper into who Bellamy was and what he thought of immigrants and non-white Protestant people, then you know that this language is racist and xenophobic. He went on record to say that he wanted to define true Americanism. You need to know that in the early 20th century and the late 19th century, there were millions of immigrants from Southern and Eastern Europe coming over to the United States. A lot of these immigrants didn't speak English, were either Catholic or Jewish, thus not considered to be real white people. And Bellamy was on board with the very racist and xenophobic laws that the United States were passing at the time, like the Chinese Exclusion Act, the Immigration Act of 1891, etc. And his goal was to mobilize the masses to support American doctrines by warding off internal enemies hostile to true Americanism. So now that you know the history of it, why would you want to say the Pledge of Allegiance?